let's head across to Brent, see what he's got at the moment. We'll keep driving up and down here and we'll see what we can find.
So we've checked the last position of Karula, and unfortunately she is not there. There is a little bit of meat left. I'm just doing a quick loop around the block that she was in, seeing if I can find any tracks. So I'm going very slowly, and at the moment so far only hyena and cuckoo tracks on the road. So now that she's finished that little Steenbok, it's a bit of a guessing game. I was hoping she had gone towards the water at Treehouse. She hadn't. Well, no tracks at least. We all know Karula can fly. Because she is the queen of Juma and also the queen of the Disappearing Act. That's hence the reason I'm moving at snail's pace and checking very, very carefully for tracks. Of course, Andrew has pointed out 3 different sets of hyena tracks going leopard track. No, Andrew, there's a hyena. But jokes aside, fortunately, the majority of our cameramen, after spending so much time with us, can actually tell a leopard track from a hyena track. One would hope so. The fact that we spend 6 hours a day out in the bush looking for tracks, mostly. Definitely far more looking for tracks than actual animals. But finding the tracks often leads to finding the animal. Marilyn, who's in sunny California, hopefully a bit more sunny than we are, says it seems to her that Andrew and Tebs spotted the animals far before the presenters. Oh, Marilyn. Well, no, put that thumb down, Andrew. In a lot of cases, one must remember the cameramen are much higher than we are, so they have an elevated position. But I will admit, this week, Tebs has spotted lots. Andrew, I don't think spotted anything. Andrew?
Few leopards, few wild dogs.
Oh, nice. No, he's claiming. I actually have a little wager with most cameramen, and they get a little reward if they spot something before me. And I can definitely say on average I spot before the cameramen do. Andrew, I'm waiting for a rebuttal there.
That's not true.
Oh, and he lies through his teeth. So if the cameraman managed to spot a leopard before, or a lion before me, or a wild dog, they do get a little reward. The reward is I don't beat them senseless after drive. No, I'm only joking. They get a liquid reward from me. Andrew? What have I spotted? It could have been one of a few things. It could have been a white bird that just jumped through my field of vision. It could also, what I think most likely is a little flick of an impala's tail on the white I saw, but it's worth checking because it could also just be a white tip to a leopard's tail. I saw the movement of the animal. As I said, most likely it was the flick of an impala's tail, but I can't see. I just saw movement through there. And even those little chances are always worth following up on. Andrew, are you looking now? I did see something move through here. I wouldn't be driving this far off the road through this very bumpy country. Seen an Impala yet actually makes me slightly more excited. Something moved just through this area here. There we go. What's that running there? That was not what I saw. There was a warthog that just disappeared in front of me. Warthog do not have white on them. Could even have been a little flick of a Steenbok's tail. Valerie has got an excellent idea. I think, okay, Valerie, let's take you up on it right now. Come, Andrew. So Valerie thinks the camera operators and presenters should swap. So Andrew, off you go. Should we swap?
Negative, that's right.
Valerie, you have now put the cameraman in an absolute panic. He's gone bright red and his legs are shaking. He does not want to get in front of the camera. I'm offering. Andrew, please.
No.
Yes, Andrew, you also used to be a field guide.
I'm nervous now.
Andrew really doesn't want to get behind his camera. But I think that's an excellent idea, Valerie, that we should swap. See, the funny difference is that I also am a cameraman, and I've worked as a cameraman before, and whether it's our cameramen haven't presented too much, apart from when we force them to, like right now. Come, Andrew. Andrew, let's go. Just go say hello to Valerie, Andrew. Off you go. Take your earmuffs off.
No.
So, there we go. That's Andrew's answer to presenting. So, Valerie, I did try, but no, Andrew has hidden himself behind a buff. Oh. Our cameramen are very special, but there's a reason we keep them behind the camera, as you saw. So unfortunately, I'm pretty sure, I think there was a little flick of a Steenbok's tail. The fact that we saw warthog here means it probably wasn't Queen Karula. Now, let's get ourselves back towards the road. But Valerie, don't worry. James and I will have a discussion of how we can make that happen. And if any two people can, I'm pretty sure it's James and myself. I definitely think when we go back to James, we should ask Valerie's question, or encourage Valerie's question again, and see what Tebs does, whether he has the general standard cameraman response, which what you saw from Andrew, as soon as you try to put a camera near him, he tries to hide like a dwarf mongoose going down a barrow. Alyssa says she doesn't think Andrew trusts me with his camera. Well, unfortunately for Andrew, he doesn't actually have a choice in the matter. She also thinks Andrew is adorable. Andrew, how's this? This December, you have been called a cutie patootie and adorable. You must be feeling very special, Andrew. He did this behind the camera. J has sent us an email. Is it true that the cameramen are only hired if they cannot outrun the presenters? No, it is not true, but generally cameramen are not the fittest creatures in the world. Apart from Jean-Andre, he's an exception to the rule. But again, he is quite slow. Actually, I don't think there's a cameraman that can outrun Scott, James, or myself. Andrew thinks he can, he's pointing at himself. But after gracing the touch rugby field with Andrew a few times, I can, as much as Andrew will disagree, I can guarantee you he cannot outrun me. I know what to do, Andrew. Let's have a race. In front of camera, where everyone can watch. The finish line will be the vehicle. We will start further on. Come, Andrew. Let's go. And I'll keep my radio on and take my shoes off if we're racing. So, and we've even got a perfect track here. We've got 2 tracks. Andrew's setting up the shot. How far should it be from Andrew?
As far as you like, Brent. I got this one in the bag.
Andrew says he's got this one in the bag. I doubt it. Look at it warming up. Okay. Let's see. Put the mic in my top pocket, otherwise it's going to fall down. There we go. Right, let's go a little further. I don't have enough time to build up speed. So hopefully you are still getting audio, because I do have a lapel mic. Let me stretch. Are you ready, Andrew? Let me clip all my cables. So Louise in final control is going to count us down. Okay, take your marks, Andrew.
And go!
Oh, there goes my radio. There we go. Point proven. Andrew Francis is not faster than I am.
Your shoes are off, though.
Oh, no, I see the excuses already flowing. Put my shoes back on. Well, I can't run in sandals now, I mean, honestly. Okay. Well, at least that argument is settled. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lion around, because one of the most important rules in the bush is don't run. But we did do it in a nice open area. I think maybe this afternoon we should test this theory further and get James and Tebs in on the race action. A big thank you to Valerie, and she's thanking us, we're thanking you. Valerie, you gave us an opportunity to do some exercise while on game drive. So a big thank you to you, and Valerie says we've made her night. Well, Valerie, you've made our morning. So, no tracks of the Queen so far. Shamrock said our incredible speed has woken, well, I made that one up, but Shamrock says we've woken the dogs up. I know it's because I was like a lightning bolt going past Andrew Francis. Jimmy just said it again, going past Andrew Francis. I think next thing we'll have to do is an arm wrestle.
Oh.
Apparently a buffalo ran across the road behind, I would believe, but there were no tracks. So let's go have a look what James is up to. We're going to keep circling this block that Karula was in, but James has got a relatively smelly antelope.
I'm guessing that if Karula is anywhere near the antics going on that vehicle, she's either rolling about the floor laughing or has decided to depart the area at a great speed. Because that sounds like loony bin stuff going on there. Wonderful. Brilliant. Here we are with some waterbuck, a large group of cows, and still in the vicinity where we saw the wild dogs earlier and hoping maybe that they'll come back. But in the meantime, it's not looking good, to be honest. I think they've probably gone to ground, killed something with the pups, and I think they're now relaxing inside Torchwood in the shelter or lee of a nice thicket, because it is pretty chilly out here and the wind is quite strong. So that's beautiful waterbuck cows, and as Brent says, they are quite smelly. They smell of sort of musk, like a very strong smelling horse, if you like. And just chewing their cud. Now, they're called waterbuck because they're supposed to be running into water when they get terrified of things. And these ones, well, you know, I've actually never seen them do that. So, and I've very seldom actually seen them around water at Djuma. So I'm not convinced how necessary water, other than for drinking, is for waterbuck. But certainly those furry coats would indicate that they need to stay warm more than most. But I can't imagine why that would be the case. They're quite mysterious in that way. And there you can see two things. Firstly, why they've got that white marking on the backside. Obviously, a nice, easy way for them to follow each other through the bush. And secondly, how brilliantly camouflaged they are. That grey colour, if you want to really hide out here, that grey colour is a brilliant colour to be. Right. We are going to do one last foray up the cheetah cut line, up our eastern boundary, and see if the dogs haven't perhaps come across. Until then, thereafter, I think we'll head to the hyena den and see what's going on. I don't think I'm going to race Tebs up the road. Julia Smith, you say yesterday Tebs spotted a moving white shell, and I never confirmed what it was. It was a tortoise, and it looked white because of the way the light was shining on it. So it was very kind of shiny, but it was a living leopard tortoise. And when we got up close, we realized it wasn't white. It was quite a pale one, but it certainly wasn't white. That's what it was. Tebs' spotting scopes have been working overtime of late, seeing amazing things. So this is where we spotted them early this morning. That's where they ate the first impala. And they went trotting off, sort of off to the east there, into the middle of the picture. And then up north, they found the puppies, apparently. And then they were running up and down, and they regurgitated a whole lot of food for them. This is what we heard from the other people who were in the sighting. And then they started moving towards this way. And they haven't come across the cut line again yet. So we'll do one last drive up here, and that will be it. I'm afraid. But a wonderful experience we've had with them already. Just drive very slowly, see if the tracks don't come across, and see what else there is on this road here. Stop and have a listen every so often. There's an impala. Oh, she's on her own. I wonder if it isn't her that's just lost her very little youngster. She does look fairly depressed and on her own. I say she looks depressed, you can't tell what an impala is feeling from its face because, of course, they don't have very expressive faces. They don't have anything like the muscles in their faces that we do. But odd that she's on her own. And if wild dogs have been through an area, what they will do is split up the herds completely. And so you find these odd situations where there's, one female on her own or one male on her own or babies separated from mothers. I hope it's not her that's lost her baby. Now, while we answer this very salient question from Cindy in Long Island, we'll just keep going up the road here slowly. Cindy, you want to know if animals out here ever mourn their dead? Yes, absolutely they do. We think that elephants mourn their dead, and you indicated that you thought they might. Yeah, we think they do. Obviously, we can't tell what senses of emotion that they are feeling. Is it sadness? Is it longing? What is it? But we know that elephants will come, and I've certainly seen it myself, where they will come towards the carcass of an old, a fallen comrade, if you like, put the bones on their heads, and they'll return to the same place 2 or 3 times before moving off and leaving the bones to themselves. And, I mean, some will tell you that that's just, that they pick things up anyway, and they pick up bones, and sometimes, it's just purely coincidental. And others will tell you that it definitely looks like mourning. To me, it looks like mourning. I think that the days of us saying that animals don't have emotion are thankfully coming to an end. I think it's patently obvious that they do feel something. Of course, the only way for us to describe what they're feeling is to use our own expressions of feeling. So, love or sadness or joy. I don't know. Do impala mourn their young? We don't know. We have no way of knowing. They don't make a wailing sound of sadness. Like I say, their faces are totally unexpressive. The only thing they can move are their ears. And so, they can't sort of smile or frown or look miserable or look happy. And so it's very difficult to tell whether they are, what they're feeling. Lions and leopards, I mean, we know when they're angry, certainly. That anger is very easy for them to show. And if you've got a dog or a cat at home, when they're angry, and they certainly, a dog can show joy. So yeah, I think they do show emotion. Do they mourn? Who knows? Probably. I suppose if you're a biologist, you need to ask yourself the question, what evolutionary advantage would there be to mourning? Charlotte, you're in Port Elizabeth. It's just near where my parents live. They live in Kenton, Charlotte. Hello and good morning to you. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season down there on the coast. Charlotte, you want to know whether how it's possible that these wild dogs transport the meat. Do they have an extra stomach and then for vomiting up to feed their pups? No, Charlotte, it's as you pointed out. Secondly, you said, do they just vomit on demand? That's precisely what they do. They vomit on demand. So when the cubs beg, they'll nip at the lips of the adults. Sorry, the pups, not the cubs. They'll nip at the lips of the adults, and the adults will then regurgitate food for them. It's quite an astonishing thing to be able to do. And just getting back to that thing, the discussion on emotion. In what way or what evolutionary advantage could there possibly be to mourning? Well, I mean, if we look at our own species, the evolutionary advantage, I suppose, to mourning would be a sense of need to protect and a sense of belonging. If you feel a sense of, or maybe a throwback to it, if you feel a sense of attachment to another person, you will help them and you will protect them. So maybe in species where there is that kind of egalitarian helping of one another, maybe mourning is a throwback to that. I don't know. fascinating subject and a very heated one. I often get very amused by the kind of definite answers that people give to what they think animals can and cannot do and can and cannot feel when we have no idea really. I mean, we're really just guessing. So nothing else coming across this road at the moment. Whether or not those dogs are going to go to sleep up in Torture, I'm not sure. I think it's probably quite likely. The race between Brent and some wild dogs would be an interesting one. I think the dogs would win. Brent would probably tell you otherwise, but I think the dogs would probably win. Quite a chilly morning too, probably only about 20 degrees Celsius I think was the temperature, which is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's quite chilly for this time of year. I'm not vaguely upset about it though, given that obviously it's been so very, very hot. Just walking past an anti-poaching unit here. On Twitter, you want to know if I would be able to beat Brent on a race. Just hold on here. Aye. Jij fokele kona. Oti bonile. Te minkombe. Ja, kona trilla. Mare one it's over gil. Ja. So inenge. It's over inenge. Ja. Okay. That's the anti-poaching unit, and they're on foot, obviously patrolling. Highly necessary in any game area, of course, especially these days, the scourge of rhino poaching. The Sabi Sand seems mercifully to have got under control. So we're just getting a little update from them on their life. How it's going, and they say everything's okay, which is good. So back to would I beat Brent in a race? I've no doubt that Brent would answer that question with an absolute negative. There would be no chance on earth that I would beat Brent in a race. I'm not sure. When we used to play touch rugby, I used to manage to outstrip him. That was a little while ago. Whether my aging bones would still be able to do it, I'm not sure. Quite nervous that I'll see him again on drive. I think I'm going to have to try and avoid him because there's no way he'll let me get away with a comment like that. No, Louise, you will not be giving any of my GPS coordinates. Just telling Louise to maintain my private location. So Robbie, we're just chatting about that evolutionary advantage perhaps that there may or may not be to mourning, and I think it's probably got to do, if there is one, it's probably I use the term throwback, that's the wrong term. It's probably a kind of a result of group interactions and species that survive because they're in groups. Lots of the primates, elephants of course, will feel a sadness when a member of the group, or what we define as sadness, when a member of the group disappears, because they feel an attachment, they feel a kinship with other members of the group, and without that kind of sense of attachment or love, the group wouldn't be as cohesive. And perhaps then the mourning, the sadness that goes with when a group member is no longer with the group, perhaps that mourning or sense of sadness is a byproduct of the sense of emotional attachment. So that's the only way I can think of it. It probably solidifies emotional bonds within a group and keeps the bond more solid. That's what I think. I might be completely wrong. It might have nothing to do with that at all. That would make sense to me. It's like the emotion of jealousy. You know, we're talking about it as the emotion of jealousy is not just simply a random emotion. It's an emotion that comes about in animals where there is a fair amount of unfaithfulness. And so in human beings, while we are nominally monogamous, certainly we all know that there are philanderers of both men and women, and that the reaction of jealousy that we all feel is an evolutionary response to making sure that that kind of philandering doesn't happen. Well, I mean, it does happen, of course, but it's a response to try and stop it happening too much. And I'm sure the same occurs in animals. Certainly it happens in the other primates. So lots of emotions have got evolutionary reasons and responses and needs for being. Fascinating discussion. Thank you, Randy. Right, we're giving up on the dogs. Let's go and have a look at the hyena den. So, another great question from Sharon. You're talking about play behavior in mammals and why they do it, and do you think they just do it for fun? I think that a baby impala plays because it feels fun to do that. The question is not so much do they do it for fun. I've no doubt they do it for fun. But why do they have that response? Why are they driven to play for fun? And they're driven to play for fun because that play behavior is extremely important in solidifying the neural pathways in their nervous systems. It's extremely important for developing coordination, developing muscle mass and muscle strength. Before we carry on with this, I'm just going to show you. As I was driving along this road at 100 miles an hour earlier on, I said there were some snake tracks. You can see them on the road there. See them there, Tebs? There are the snake tracks. And this is a big snake. I would say from its sort of sluggish movement, it's probably a puff adder. But it is a puff adder it can move reticulated like that, sideways, and it can move sort of just inch along. So I'm not sure what that was, but it was a large snake, a fat one. It may have been a mamba, of course. I've gone into that termite mound. Mamba. Right, so the play behavior, here it is again. It looks like it's come along here and moved back across the road. Big slung, that one. Maybe a python even. So, just to reiterate, so we've got, animals playing. You say, Sharon, you saw some adults joining in the fun. I've no doubt that's a throwback. It's the same as adults enjoy playing every so often. That's, it's good for us as adult human beings to play every so often to keep our joints loose and keep the muscles going. And I've no doubt the adults do the same. I think it's a throwback, of course, to being a child and being a young impala, and they are definitely doing it for fun. They are not thinking, I need to have a run around to keep fit and to keep strong, and the babies are certainly not thinking, I need to develop my neural pathways. They're just feeling the sense of joy. The question is, why are they feeling that sense of joy? What's driving them to do it? And that's an evolutionary response, I believe, to this need to, solidify the neural pathways and the muscles and that sort of thing. Wonderful. Thank you for your question, Sharon. Brilliant stuff. And of course, young human beings in Stone Ages or, way back, in Dallas, just so that I get it right and I do it justice. Tom, I'm not entirely sure what you're getting at, but I really like the way you've put it. You say that the emotional bond between a mother and calf, or mother and lamb, mother and baby, is a reflection of the energy invested by the species or by the mother, and the loss is therefore reflected in emotion. I think that's quite a nice way of putting it. Thanks, Tom. I'm not sure I've got you exactly correct there. Really nice sentiment expressed. Thank you. I was just saying, with young human beings, these days, of course, we have to give them all sorts of toys to play with because they don't live outside and, have sticks to pick up and stones to throw and all sorts of other little natural things that they would have. So we buy them blocks to put together and then we have to make them crawl by certain months and then lie on their backs. And, these are all things that they would have done naturally in a sort of a Stone Age village, if you like. And they still do in many areas where there is sort of, I don't want to use the term primitive, but certainly, you do get villages in Papua New Guinea and places like that, and some of the Bushman villages where scarcely come out of the Stone Age, and yet, human beings are developing without all the sophisticated toys and pediatric guidelines. Somehow they manage to get along just fine. Right, let's head across to Brent Smith. He has got a large animal to show you. I'm going to keep going this way. We'll head to the hyena den and I'll see you there.
Oh, we've got a wonderful Ellie bull who's busy destroying a red bush willow, and he's pushed it over and actually feeding on the roots. He's sniffing around at the moment at the base of the tree that he's pushed over. It looks like he's almost fed on the majority of what he wants to feed on, and he's being very picky. And he is on 5 legs. Oh, yes, you're very scary. Isn't that funny? Big Eddie Bull, what is he doing? Just looks like he's in a good mood. He's only got 1 tusk. And as Eddie Bulls go, I mean, he's definitely an adult, so over 30. Oh, look at that strength. But he's not the biggest bodied bull we get around here, but definitely an adult. Look at that, he's just putting that silver cluster leaf into his mouth. And normally at this time of the year, Eddies would be almost solely feeding on grasses, but there isn't any grass due to the drought. So they're going to feed a lot more on different tree species, feeding on that nutrient-rich cambium layer. And the tree that's been pushed down, a red bush willow, isn't an elephant's favorite food by any means. And neither is a silver cluster leaf. But in these times, and we're going to notice a lot more feeding on on trees and tree species that an elephant wouldn't choose to feed on quite often. Hello, big boy. So Jugger Knock would like to know what animal lives to be the oldest. Out of the mammals, it's probably the elephant. It can live to about 60 years old, 65 at a push. And from the birds, probably the ground hornbill. And obviously with the reptiles, it's between the crocodile and tortoise. Probably the crocodile, it can live to be over 100. Guys, there's a vehicle on the way, so I'm just have to have a quick morning chat.
Bernie, coming, Bernie.
So he's going to move off. Unfortunately, he is south of our boundary, so we're not going to be able to follow him. But we're going to continue on. Morning, 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 morning. How's everyone doing? Oh, very well. Any updates from your side?
All in the east for us out there.
Tristan, your beard's looking quite luscious. Let's have a look at Tristan's luscious beard. Look at Tristan starting to blush at the moment. And well, Karula had a kill here. She might have crossed this way. I've been checking for tracks now. I haven't seen anything.
I didn't see anything in Triple M or coming this way.
And then the Madash were on Gary Main, Cheetah Cut Line Junction this morning, but then they went back east into Torchwood.
Okay, well, cool. I'll go and have a look. Maybe it comes out. Yeah, the Brummies are 2 of them at Impala and 1 at Triple.
Yeah, and 1 into Cheetah Plains.
Yeah.
And 1 missing.
And Impalas are the Zeds.
I haven't seen Nkomo Lions for so long, I don't think they're alive anymore. Cool, enjoy. Cheers, enjoy guys, have a good morning.
I'll see you later, man.
Yeah. Nothing. Cool. Cheers. So Tristan from Sibambili, a good friend of mine. He's got such a luscious beard at the moment. I miss my luscious beard. James was so mean about my attempt at growing facial hair. I had to cut it all off. So no tracks of Karula coming out of that block. Well, thank you very much, Pamela. Pamela says, I look very handsome, clean shaven. Well, thank you very much, Pamela. So there's no tracks of Karula coming out across our boundary. So there's a very strong possibility she's still somewhere within Juma. Sorry, I thought I heard a squirrel alarm calling. Now I decided to keep silent. Let's go we're very close to where she had that kill. And as I said, there was a tiny bit of meat left. The legs of the Steenbok. So there is a very small possibility she might go back there. So we're talking about the longevity of different animals in Siberia. Don't some parrots live to be quite old? Yes, but in this area, the brown-headed parrot, I don't think lives as long as the ground hornbill. Could you guys check that for me? So could you guys maybe Google, see how long does a brown-headed parrot live for? I'm not 100% sure, and if you do find the answer to how long a brown-headed parrot lives for, send the answers via email through to questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just hashtag SafariLIVE. So we're going to go back and have a look at that, the remnants of that carcass. There is, as I said, Andrew, time to put you on the. You got it? The golden-breasted bunting. We saw a cinnamon-breasted bunting yesterday. And there we go, an incredibly beautiful little bird with that very, very prominent gold breast. Hopefully it pops out into the open. Should I go back a little bit, Andrew? Oh no, it's going to come out. Here we go. So, golden-breasted bunting for those on the bird list. I know James has seen recently, and you can see how this bird got its name off its flies. That incredibly bright and prominent gold breast. Nice camera work, Andrew. At least your camera works better than your sprinting. So there's another one for those keeping bird lists. I think we have seen one before, but you might have missed it. You might have had to be working. So a big SafariLIVE welcome to John, who's a new viewer from Pennsylvania. And John said, "Madash, is that guide speak for wild dog?" It is. It's actually a nickname for wild dogs, because the correct name for wild dogs is Mashoa. Mashoa. How many of you can say that? But Madash is a nickname for wild dog. I'm not 100% sure of its origins. Maybe James might know the origins of Madash. I don't. And if James doesn't know and I don't know, we'll ask around to see if we can find out. So, I know the name of wild dogs in a few different African languages. So Mashoa is Zulu and Xhosa and Shangaan. And then we have Swahili, which was also my nickname when I lived in Tanzania, is Mbwamwitu, which translated basically means dog of the bush. Mbwamwitu. Mbwa is a dog. Mwitu is the bush or trees. So dog of the trees or dog of the bush. And in Setswana, it is Matalirwa. So we're back where Karula has been spending her time. I said there's a very, very small chance she's going to be back here. I did see just a few little Steenbok legs. In the tree. Ooh. So a big thank you to Lisa, Joe, Elaine, and many, many others who sent through the lifespan of a brown-headed parrot and lived to about 30 years. So that is about 20 years shy of a ground hornbill. Ground hornbills can live for about up to 50 years. And there we can see there's one little Steenbok leg left. As I said, there's a very small chance she might come back for that, but there's not too much nutrients in that. And if she hasn't returned by the end of the morning safari, I shall climb the tree on the sunset safari to see how much is actually left up there. We are looking carefully. She could be lying close by. This is the second time we've come to check here. So I feel we should have spotted her in two roundabouts around here, but you never know. Leopard is the best at camouflage. So we're going to keep looking for Queen Karula. While we do that, James is about to arrive at a firm favorite of many of our viewers. So let's go see what that is.
Not quite arriving just yet. The hyena den's just down here, but we stopped here because there was some sort of noises, which of course the hyenas making a noise. I think they're at the den, so let's go quickly there and see what's going on. Angry. It sounds sort of playful, but of course, as we've seen over the last little while, a huge amount of sort of reaffirming of the hierarchy all the time. So we're getting there right now. Here. There is Corky, another adult, and then another one on top there. Ooh, a little one coming out here. You can hear the little ones shouting. Can't see any of them. Well, November is just behind there. Hello, Corky. I'm just trying to smell her. Because normally a hyena standing this close smells dreadful. Now, this isn't Corky, you know. I don't think. Corky's on the mound there. This is another adult. She's just 2 feet from us. There, I got a smell from her. Oh, she's injured. You can see she's got quite a nasty injury. I don't know who that is. Unless it's May's mother. Here's May. And there's a little one, D1 or D2, sticking her head out of the den. That's nice. There is a Corky having a wee, urine dribbling into the den site, and she's now going to sit in her own urine. That is delightful. Lie in it, not sit. They don't do themselves any favours, these hyenas, when they do things like that, do they? Normally, I thought they did that when it was hot. Ooh, that's just, I've never heard that sound before. Something's going on here. It's like a growl. Tebs has got his telescope eyes trained in the bush behind us as well. This is fascinating. I don't know what's going on here. Thank you, Emily Moon on Twitter. you say that I'm the hyena whisperer. I don't think that's the case so much as I just really enjoy coming and watching what's going on here. She's definitely spotted something, this hyena. Now, the one that came just 2 feet from the car is now kind of flanked around to the back. Very fat, has definitely eaten. Ooh, now there's a strong smell. There's a little one, come on. Look. It's one of the twins. One of D1 or D2. Look. That's the first time I've seen it go that far from the mum. I think it's gone. Tebs, can you still see it there? Yeah. Go back into the hole. Mm-hmm. Here comes May. Well, absolutely, Margaret. I cannot agree with you more. No wonder hyenas stink. Yeah, no, I mean, that was quite a display she put on for us. Just to reiterate, if you are perhaps watching for the first time, we've given them names according to when they were born, not the adults, because we don't know when they were born. So that's why this little fluffy thing here is called May. She was born in May. So, Jenny, like I said, you know, you wanted to know what the noise was before we got here. What on earth was it kind of whooping and squealing? I think it's these not territorial but hierarchical bonds being reiterated and re-established and reaffirmed. Hyenas, I mean, when there are lots of adults around this den, there is conflict. There's always some kind of conflict, and it's just reaffirming the hierarchical bonds. This hierarchy is so strictly enforced in a hyena clan, and I think what you'll find is there was just somebody who was being put in their place. Possibly that adult who was here. I mean, this adult who's just left now, of course, had a nasty gash in her right back leg. I mean, it was superficial, but it was quite nasty. I'm astounded that May can still fit completely into that hole. And just, I don't know if you can hear, but there's a wonderful call of one of my favourite bird calls, because it reminds me of the Christmas holidays always, of the southern boo-boo going. Did you smell that, Tebs? And put you off your breakfast. It's quite a sort of strong, sweet, deathish type scent. Not a very pleasant one. What I want to suggest we do is just drive around the other side there. I don't know that November hasn't come out to suckle on top of the mound. I'm also pretty sure that this tunnel is a tunnel that goes through the bottom of the termite mound. I think the little one rushed up and then was straight down in again, and it may well pop out there. Fascinating. I tell you, come here and you see something new every time. It's the aerial there too. You're in Arizona, and we've been having a bit of a theme about play behavior and that sort of thing, and you want want to know which of the animals will likely play with each other. The young animals, all young animals will play. Even leopard cubs, even if they're born on their own, will have to play with their mothers, and their mothers, rather like with humans, will have to play with them. If they have siblings, they'll play with their siblings. So all animals do it, and all animals need to do it. I think this is the one that we've sort of called Pretty, and her daughter is November. So Desiree, nice, I love this, you see, when you guys come up with theories and try and explain this odd behaviours that we see here. You say it's not hot, of course, and Corky is laying down in a great puddle of her own urine. Do you think maybe she's trying to make herself feel smell stronger for dominance? Desiree, I think that's certainly possible. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. Maybe she's trying to smell stronger so that there's no kind of... I've lost my train of thought entirely there because I decided I was going to talk rubbish. I was thinking of a human being who covers himself in dung when he's hunting, you know, so that he doesn't smell like human being. But of course she will smell even more like hyena now, covered in her own urine. Yeah, maybe it is a dominance thing. It could well be. It's certainly very odd that she should choose to do it, though. And you can see, I don't know how many of you were watching yesterday afternoon when we were watching the leopard, and how fastidious Karula was cleaning herself. How she really maintained that perfect kind of regality that she's got, and I don't know if that's a word, regalness. But these hyenas, of course, don't have the same need to feel clean. Yes. Well, Juggernock, as you've asked very saliently, why do they bother cleaning themselves at all if they're just going to lie in their own filth? You see, they don't do a lot of cleaning of themselves. Sometimes they do a bit. But, yeah, they're very happy to remain dirty, which cats are generally not. Even lions will, despite the fact that they're quite possibly the laziest animals next to the koala bear and the sloth. They are quite prepared to clean themselves after they've been at a kill for a while. You know, you'll see them licking their paws just like a house cat will, and then rubbing the blood and viscera off their faces, whereas hyenas just don't seem to feel the same need for cleanliness. And I suspect that's not a vanity thing, of course. It's got a lot to do probably with the fact that hyenas have developed the constitutions, a bit like Brent Smith's, where they can deal with sort of a greater disease or bacteria load than can some of the other animals. And that's why animals clean themselves. Same reason we clean ourselves, to keep sort of free of disease. I think you'll find the immune system of hyenas is just astonishingly powerful, given what they're prepared to eat, and given that they don't need necessarily to clean themselves. So, Michael, on YouTube, you bring up a very interesting point. You say that humans are the only mammals that are put off by their own scent, that are repelled by their own scent. It's an interesting one, Michael. I think you probably have a point there, in that, you know, we are probably, since the advent of soaps and that sort of thing, and colognes and scents and various perfumes, we have become desensitized to the actual human scent. And certainly if we smell somebody now who's run a long way and not bothered to have a shower, we're extremely put off by that smell. I think that's almost been socialized into us over the years, because we're so used to smelling clean, fresh human human being as opposed to a sweaty human being. And I'm sure in our distant past that wasn't the case, but it's an interesting one, Michael. I also think that that disguises often the scent of people, and our noses are a lot more sensitive than we give them credit for. And the smell that we get from other people tells us a lot about them, and it tells us a lot about their disease susceptibility, their parasite loads, and those sorts of things, which is a very complicated discussion, but it is quite interesting. And I think the amount of perfume and soap and that sort of stuff that we use definitely takes away from our ability to interpret those signals that our natural body scent would be giving to each other. Great one. Thank you, Michael. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith. He is with some giraffe. I'm not sure where. I'm going to try and stay away from him in case we have to race, and we'll see you just now.
So on this cold, windy morning, we found a little baby giraffe who's decided it's far too cold to be wandering about and sitting down and chewing the cud. Mom's not too far away, and Mom actually looks like Mom spotted something. So giraffes are very good at spotting predators, and she's staring intently into the bush there. So let's have a quick look at what she might be staring at. Hopefully it's the Queen of Juma. Was she just also ruminating? No, maybe she's not staring too intently. Also ruminating. You can actually see the bolus in her mouth. So she has brought that vegetable matter out from her stomach and re-chewing it to get the maximum amount of nutrients from it. A couple of oxpeckers in tow. This particular female's got such nice colouring. Very sort of orangey giraffe. So she's heading back towards... No, not quite. She might be going to find some food. No, she is looking at something, Andrew. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's go have a look. And she keeps looking in this general area. And we're still on the hunt for Madam Karula. And no sign of her at the treehouse waterhole. So I thought maybe if she wasn't going back for that little bit of Steenbok, she might move towards the Gallagher waterhole. So giraffe is looking here. There's also a possibility she's staring at an impala or another giraffe. But still, always worth checking these tiny clues that the bush gives us. I hope your eyes are peeled and you're checking carefully. Can't see anything just yet. I can hear Cokie Franklin. And just double check if there's any tracks going over here. There are not. Let's check the western edge. There's a little two-track, a little tiny But I heard a sisticula, which is a little bird's alarm call. High-pitched trrrt. Sounding too stressed. Andrew, I thought you spotted more leopard than me. Come, spot a leopard. See, well, fortunately, since Andrew opened his mouth, we can now actually put some pressure on him. So while we search for the elusive prince of predators, let's go back to James, who's still at the hyena den.
So we're just sitting here patiently seeing what's happening, and after the great herring around this morning after those dogs, it's quite nice to have a bit of peace. The morning is starting to warm up slightly, and I suspect that this sun, this very strong summer sun that we've had, is going to burn these clouds off by the time 10 o'clock comes along. And Pretty is fast asleep there. Very peaceful, isn't she? The cubs have quieted completely. Safari Dean, you were asking about dens, and do other predators use dens? Yes, they do, absolutely. So from the smallest, I would suppose the most obvious would be a jackal, a black-backed jackal or a side-striped jackal. They use dens, normally holes in the ground, sort of almost like a burrow, but they also would probably be in a subterranean termite mound. And so, yes, jackals do that. Wild dogs, of course, use dens exactly like hyenas in termite mounds like this, excavated out. Their pups are a lot more altricial or less developed than the hyena cubs, and so the adults will have to modify the den for them until they're old enough to do it themselves, which will be in, probably after 2 or 3 weeks. Then leopards and lions, they do have a den, but not in a termite mound like this, not in a hole. It's normally they'll find some kind of a rocky cave or something like that where they can give birth. And that's obviously, those spaces are at a premium around here. Not a lot of rocky caves and that sort of thing. I suppose a really enormous termite mound with a massive entrance might allow a leopard or a lion to give birth in it. But remember that unlike the hyenas here, which will lie at the entrance and then the cubs will come out and suckle, the baby lions and leopards are so helpless when they're born that the adults have to be able to get to them. So they can't put them into an area that they cannot get into. And so that's why they tend to use those sort of cave or rocky outcrop areas where they can stash the babies away and then get in there when they need to. Very risky time, of course, for all predators being newly born, and especially the altricial sort of cats, or any of the cats, in fact. They're all born extremely altricial. And altricial is the opposite of precocial. We often talk about children as being precocious, which just basically means sort of older than their years almost, developed very quickly. So we describe an Impala baby which is born able to run almost immediately as precocial, and then a baby like a puppy or a lion cub will be described as altricial, born blind, no teeth, and unable to kind of do anything without their mother's help. Okay, I think let's press on from the hyena den. Not much going on here, and that's pretty normal this time of year. I think, at least this time of day. I think we were probably 20 minutes too late. It's interesting to me also how the clan kind of disperses during the day. And they'll all be lying around here somewhere. Nice thought from T. Van Eyck on Twitter. Very interesting. You say that urine, of course, is pretty sterile, and you can use it as a disinfectant sometimes. And maybe that's why she's lying in the urine. It's a very good thought. Maybe, yeah. There's so much much bacteria all over her body from the what they kill and where they lie and that sort of thing, and maybe that urine is a kind of disinfectant. Very interesting thought. True heads, everybody. Duck down. Question. Marilyn, you're in California, and you're saying are humans the only animals that establish a kind of toilet or latrine area away from the home? I'm trying to think. Hyenas certainly don't defecate around here. There's not a lot of hyena dung around here. I think that may well be, rather than a function of it sort of being unpleasant, which is why humans keep their lavatories away from the sort of living area, is I think they use it a lot to mark territory, and I suspect that's why they don't defecate too much around the den. It probably also would attract other hyenas, maybe. So hyenas definitely, they're not defecating around this den. I'm trying to think. You know, very few other animals, of course, live anywhere near, live in one place. They all move around quite a lot. Baboons, for example, are completely unlike human beings. Baboons are quite possibly the most disgusting animals in the world when it comes to that sort of thing. They will sleep in a tree, and they will make a very foul mess while they're sleeping, all over each other, all over the tree, all under the tree, and they're very happy to go to the loo all over the place. So they definitely don't have the same habits as us. Chimps and the gorillas, I don't know what they do. Very interesting question. I suppose the main reason that humans do it is for health reasons. I think that's why, smell, I think, is often an indication. Our interpretation of a bad smell is an interpretation that says that could be healthy, that could make me sick, so I'm going to stay away from it. Which is why, something like a lion or a leopard or a hyena will quite happily go to a carcass that smells to us disgusting, because we know that it would make us sick to ingest something like that, whereas with a lion and a leopard it's not the case, and so it doesn't smell bad to them. Hit on something else interesting. We were chatting about human scent and the fact that human beings don't tend to like human being scent. And you say you disagree, SafariLIVE. It depends on what pheromones are being given off. Absolutely it does. And those pheromones are interpreted by our noses, and those pheromones indicate disease and parasite resistance to each other completely subconsciously. We don't know what we're actually interpreting as pleasant or unpleasant when we smell other people. And I agree with you, SafariLIVE. Certainly some people, and I've said this before, some people, when you put your arms around somebody and sort of breathe them in, if you like, you get a sense of whether that smells like home, whether it smells comfortable to you, whether it smells like something you want to smell again, or whether it's kind of, ooh, that's not necessarily bad, but it's just not, it's not right for me. I get that so strongly with people that I meet. And the other interesting thing that I think that we don't think about, I think that it might be slightly controversial. I think with the widespread use of contraceptive pills, and that of course changes the physiological makeup of women, or certainly it changes the hormonal cycle, and I think that women will smell different to each other and to men, very subtly so subtly that you wouldn't consciously be able to tell a difference. And I think that it does make a difference to our actual interaction. Here are two buffalo bulls, one of them missing a horn, one of them with a magnificent set of horns. Oops, I like Tebs. Tebs is just straightening the camera. And there, that chap's lost his horn. And unlike the Impala we saw yesterday, who had a kind of exploded eye, I think this guy may have lost both of his horns. Has he lost both, Tebs?
It looks like that, yeah.
He's just got himself a bit of a helmet on his head now. And that will have hurt, no doubt. But you can still see the stumps there. Christy, I don't think you need to worry if you come on a safari. You say, is it not wise to wear perfume? No, it's perfectly wise. If you want to wear perfume, you wear what you like. It's not going to attract or repel any animals, I don't believe. If you're on a walking safari, yeah, I mean, you don't want to smell like the inside of a perfume shop, because then you will just be a lot more obvious smelling. But animals have very sensitive noses, and I think you'll find probably some of our perfume, although they might smell obvious to us, to an animal they wouldn't know really how to interpret them, because it might mask our human scent, which these animals definitely pick up immediately. And as I say that, the wind has just sort of switched and blown from behind us straight towards this buffalo, and you can see him reacting by looking at us, sniffing the air, and hiding behind a tree. I think he's going to come out. I'm just going to sit here for 1 minute and see if he doesn't pop his head out. But certainly, I mean, you can tell immediately when these animals smell human scent. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's picking it up, and even though he can see us, he's now smelling human. And that to these animals is not pleasant. It's all fascinating. I really enjoy these discussions. It's so often things we don't think about. Very aware of them, but we don't necessarily think about them. Well, Margaret, very good question. What could hit a buffalo so hard to make it lose its horn? And the answer is very simple, Margaret. Only another buffalo. So I think we've certainly been seeing a little bit of conflict around the waterhole here, in front of the Juma Dam here. And I think that buffalo probably has had a sort of fight with another one. I've seen him before. In fact, I've seen. I think it's the same one. He certainly had one horn left, and he was still having a bit of a fight with another bull. So yeah, I think it's just an old set of horns there, probably slightly more brittle than other might be when they were younger, and that's what's caused breakage. Headbutt against another buffalo. There you can see the sun starting to break through, the lights starting to become a little more golden. Lovely light. That gold mixed with grey is just wonderful. Very nice question. I'm not sure that there's any definitive answer to your question. We were looking at some waterbuck earlier, and you want to know, is it true that their scent makes them distasteful to predators, not good to eat? Scott, definitely the best way to answer that is to say that if I've eaten waterbuck and it doesn't taste bad at all. I think it depends very much on what happens just post-death and just prior to death. So like you say, if there's a huge adrenaline rush and there's been a long chase, apparently they do have glands in the skin that will taint the meat and make it taste bad, certainly to us. But to elephants, not to elephants, to lions and that sort of thing, I don't think it makes any difference at all. They will readily eat water buck. There's something very sweet smelling here. Can you smell it, Tebs? Like a nice flower or something. I'm just trying to find what it is. Especially after the smell of that hyena den. Very nice smell, like a sort of jasmine-y type smell. Onto the subject of smelling, Marianne, you ought to know if an elephant's ever come close enough to me to smell me with its trunk. Not so that it's touched me, but certainly it's been, within that distance. And it's doing that precisely so that it can smell me. And if you watch elephants when they sniff the air and they put their trunks into their mouths, and that sends a signal to the vemeronasal organ of Jacobson, and that interprets the scent and helps them to decide whether they need to be afraid or not. I can't find what that nice smell is. Lovely olfactory or smelling question from Terry in Santa Ana. You say you've heard that dogs can sometimes smell. Their sense of smell is so acute that they can smell if their owners are sick or not. And do I think that wild animals can do the same thing? I definitely think they can. I've no doubt in my mind that they're able to interpret a healthy animal from a sick one. I think that helps when they're breeding. So a sick animal will be unattractive. And I think the same goes for human beings, not necessarily through smell, but I'm sure that they can tell health. And I think that if we, as human beings, were more attuned to our own sense of smell, I think we could do the same thing. There's that rather grim TV series called Hannibal, which I'm sure some of you have seen. Hannibal Lecter picks up the scent on his patient and picks up the disease through scent. And I mean, of course, that's just a story, but I do believe that it would be possible. And Natasha on Twitter, like you say, the discussion on the human and animal scent does open all sorts of questions about our non-verbal human communications. Absolutely it does. And there's so much going on that in our own minds when we meet people and look at them, visually and smell-wise, that we're not even aware of going on subconsciously. Certainly my own nose, I've got a very sensitive nose, and when I meet somebody, it's one of the first things I will notice about them is their smell. You say that scent I just smelled, a very nice smell, was maybe a lady having walked through here, and will take my fancy because she has the right smell. Well, I'm searching hard into the bush, but I don't see Scarlett Johansson walking through here, tracking any animals at the moment. The birdies now starting to sing as the sun comes out. There's a robin calling there and a lark. There's a little bird there. Can you see it? Just in front of us. We seldom see them so well. That is a rattling sisticula, everybody. The rattling sisticula. So often you hear it going chip chip, chip chip. And just listen around us now. As the sun comes out, the birds don't like it when it's cloudy. Now they're all starting to sing. That's a sabota lark calling behind us, and it's mimicking other birds. It's mimicking a white-browed scrub robin. Oh, lovely. There's a little starling up ahead. Tebs, where's that bird? Oh, there, right in front of us. It's a black cuckoo shrike, I think. Wow. And there's a starling. Very strange noise for a starling to make. I'm not sure that was the original bird that I saw there, though. Oh, there it is. Bear with me, everybody. If it's a black cuckoo shrike, it'll be quite special, but it isn't. They're both starlings. Both Cape glossy starlings.
3 birds.
There are 3 there. Are they all the same, or was one different, do you think, Tebs? One starling, 2 starling. Yeah, you're right. They're all starlings, Tebs. Well done. Oh, hang on. That one isn't. The one on right on top of us here isn't a starling. I think that's a black cuckoo shrike, everybody. Yeah. I'm just going to play the call, and they can be a little bit more colourful than that. Sometimes they've got a bit of yellow on them. Let me just play the call quickly before he runs away. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Let's see if it reacts. Where's it gone? I think that's what that was. Couldn't see with the light. I'm just playing the sound now. You can hear it now. Maybe it wasn't. It certainly wasn't a starling there. Fascinating. Right, let us press along. I'm going to head towards the Juma Dam, see what's going on there. No word at this stage on those dogs, everyone. I think everyone gave up looking for them. They're in a very thick block. And then those big Land Cruisers, they're not nimble like these little Land Rovers. I think it becomes quite difficult, so I think they gave up after a while. Lots of hyena activity from last night all over the road here. And it wouldn't surprise me if Karula had come into this area. She does like this area especially when she's not on the hunt, which I don't suspect she was yesterday evening. The other thing that the rain makes for this sort of time of year, especially if there's a drought, is that after it rains, a lot of the predators will come out and start remarking their territory. But of course, in the absence of rain, there's no need for them to do that. So I wonder if in drought years we don't see fewer predators that we would sort of marking their territory than we would in wetter years. Right, let's head across to Brent Smith, get an update on what he's doing. I think he's looking for Karula, and I'll keep you posted on my progress a bit later.
So we're still in search of the elusive Karula, the dominant female leopard on Djuma. And well done, James, for that black cuckoo shrike. I'm sure that's a lovely new bird for a lot of bird lists. So we still haven't found any tracks, and I sort of wonder if she's not just sleeping not too far away from that carcass. But we are checking her normal haunts, the areas she walks when she's scent marking the boundary of her territory. Checking in all the marula trees, which we know she likes to climb. And there's a marula tree. I've actually seen her before. And I posted a photograph of her jumping between branches, and it was in that marula tree in the middle when I was out on tracking team. But she's not there today, unfortunately. So we have a question from Louis. Hi, Louis, who's on Twitter, who would like to know what is my favorite bird. Louis, that is an incredibly difficult question to answer. I have lots of favorites. And let me think. In this area, I'll keep it to Djuma because there's so many birds in Africa. My favorite bird on Djuma, I must say I do have a very soft spot for the African hawk eagles. They're such stunning birds, as well as a pygmy kingfisher. I think would probably be my top two birds at Djuma. But I think my favorite bird in Africa is an incredibly strange and large bird that I encountered in the Central African rainforest. And that is it there. It's called a great blue turaco. And this feather is actually from the rainforest, and it belongs to the great blue turaco. And you could hear them almost every day calling when I lived in the rainforest. A very deep guttural quack, 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 quack. I can't really do it too well, but I think there we go. But at Djuma, it would have to be the African hawk eagles or a pygmy kingfisher. There's an African hawk eagle. Number 2, sorry. Number 3 is an Ayers hawk eagle. And a pygmy kingfisher, which have just arrived. We've been seeing a few of them. Rollers, there we go. Number 3, a pygmy kingfisher. So on the subject of birds, I have, out of all the kingfishers that occur in Africa, I have seen all but one. And it is my nemesis bird. Unfortunately, it lives in a very bad place to visit. It's called a white-collared kingfisher. And it only lives in what is modern-day Eritrea and Somalia. So both not the best places to go visiting. So of all the African kingfishers, that is the only one I haven't seen. And chocolate-backed, beautiful kingfisher we used to see regularly in the rainforest. And then also in the rainforest, we had lots of these beautiful little kingfishers. Exquisite. Anyway, let's carry on looking for the queen. I might do one last gander at that Steenbok leg that's left in the tree. Female Impala and a baby. See, quite jumpy in this windy, overcast weather. Got to be on the lookout for Karula. You can see how before she moves into the thickets, stops and listens and smells a little bit more intently than she would on a windless, warm day. Look what she spotted. Let's just wait a few seconds. Now, she's listening to me. You see how her ear turned towards me. So just being cautious, not wanting her little one to become a snack for a predator. Brian on Twitter would like to know if myself and the crew have any large New Year plans. So we actually do. We are joining up with Candace and Mike. Candace is the general manager of Juma. Mike is an ecologist, and this is her husband. And we are having a large prawn braai. For those who do not know what a braai is, it's a South African word for barbecue. So most of us will be eating prawns off the barbie, except for poor Jamie, who is not able to eat prawns, so she shall be having calamari. But that is the plan. Yes, and a very valid point from Louise. A prawn is a shrimp. I think you guys refer to them as shrimps more than prawns. It's flying away, don't worry. So that is what we shall be doing for the New Year's Eve. And the Sunset Safari on the 31st of December, the end of the Carnival Challenge, and will be Andrew and my last drive before we depart on our holiday. And we have big plans, Andrew. We are hoping, if Andrew gets his life together and collects his passport on time, we are hoping to go visit Andrew's parents, who are up at Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. So we plan to do a spot of tiger fishing and a spot of photography in a different part of the bush. And that's the strange thing about people who live and work in the bush and love the bush. Even when they go on holiday, they tend to go to the bush, just a different bush. So after checking all the boundaries, I'm very much convinced that Karula is still somewhere on Juma. So we are going to be trying our best to find her. If we don't manage on this sunrise safari, hopefully the sunset safari will produce the queen. And there is a little male Steenbok, and that's what Karula ate for Christmas dinner. Not that particular one, of course. And I don't think his mate either. It's quite a distance from where we are. So if we look around carefully, sometimes you can see the female. Steenboks are monogamous antelope. Live in very small territories of about 4 acres. See, everyone's really alert today. This wind and cloudy weather. See how alert those ears are, peeking up. And Andrew, if you double tap or zoom, you see Steenbok have a very pronounced pre-orbital gland on their face, and they use that to scent mark extensively. So they will rub that against grass and branches and bushes to mark their territory so other Steenbok know. Also, one of the only animals here that is not dependent on water And I have seen them, actually, we've seen them on live safari, digging up tubers and bulbs from grasses and different plant species, and they get quite a lot of moisture from that. Of course, if there is water available, they will drink it, but they are not dependent on water at all. And the only member of what are called dwarf antelopes that we get at Djuma. Oh, itchy. This guy's standing so nice and still for us. Well, I'll let him continue his vigil and feeding so he doesn't get caught unawares. Oh, Matt, let us get a little bit closer. How's that, Andrew?
A little bit
Forward.
forward.
There we go. And we're a little bit closer. And Steenbok is very intently staring towards the monkey orange thicket. But the fact that scratching ears, not too perturbed. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew? You see how it's very much looking. I think he might be checking out his chick. So it might be checking on the whereabouts of his female. But just in case, I think we are going to go back a little bit and have a look a little bit more closely at that monkey orange thicket. Exquisite little antelope, though. And one of the funnier names in a local African language, Setswana, is for a steenbok. It's called a pududuhudu in Setswana. Yeah, no, we're not going to go back. If he had stopped then and turned around and stared at the same spot, then I would have gone back, but looks like he's decided whatever was there is not posing a threat. Off he shoots. Keeping a close lookout for the female. Bye-bye, little steenbok. So, yo, Jim. Jim says, yo, Brent. I say, yo, Jim, back. Jim would like to know, what about the secretary birds? Do we get those at Djuma? We do, Jim, very, very occasionally. I have not seen one while on live drive, but I have seen while on tracking team. And the place I think we've seen them the most is the Arathusa airstrip. They do occur. They are more common further to the east of us and to the south of us, where you have basalt soils and gabbro soils, so more open grassland. And they use those lovely long legs to prance through the grassland on the hunt for snakes and other wonderful things to eat. Continue our search for the Queen. Let us head across to Commander Bond, who's with a spiral-horned, I don't know, female and baby.
A little herd of nyalas of 3 different sizes.
Megaphone copy, any updates?
They're just doing what they do best, of course, which is to just walk gently along the banks of the large drainage line here, or the dry riverbed called the Mawati, and they will eat on the kind of thick vegetation that there is there and sit in the shade as it starts to get a little bit hotter. Beautiful, beautiful antelope. And then there's another version of a spiraled horned antelope just in front of us. There's a kudu, a young bull. That's my head in the way. There he is. You can see his spiraling horns, from which they get their designation. He's not an adult. Interestingly, as you saw him run through there, one of the things that causes death for kudu, of course, is when they're trying to run away from lions, they get their horns stuck in the bushes, and so they've got to run with their heads up like this, and then they can't see where they're going. There's the southern boo-boo. You can hear them in front going. Lovely. Christmas holiday sound for me. All right, so let's drive on. Carolyn in Chicago, you want to know, of course, and you've noticed this because it is a truism, that the prey items, the herbivores, have got enormous eyes, and you want to know there's a reason for it. And well, as the great big bad wolf said to Red Riding Hood, all the better to see you with, my dear. And that is exactly why. It's simply because, yeah, you're right, they need to be able to see as widely around them as they can, and in as great a contrast as they can in order to spot the predators that might come and try and bite them. So yes, definitely, so that they can see better, Carolyn. Yeah, you can just hear those southern boo-boos calling beautifully now. That's not a southern boo-boo though, that's Impala running, going there, there. There we go. It's not being chased by a ram. No, they're not. They're alarm calling. They're alarm calling just up ahead. Running away. Ooh, what's going on here? What's going on here? Tracks, keep looking around, Tebs. Initially, I had the impression that they were just running.
In front.
Cat.
In front.
Cat's in front. Chip is off. Yet again. Well done. It's a leopard. It's a leopard. Tebs on fire. Look, there we go. And it is not any leopard. Of course, it looks like a young male to me. Let's just look. No. It's a female. I think that's the object of our search, actually, from this morning. I think that's old Karula Pops. Isn't that lovely? There she goes. She's just marking her territory there. We're on a road, just so that we can feed it through to Brent. We're on a road called Pangolin Track. Tebs, you're on fire. The elegant queen makes an appearance. I think that's definitely Karula. She's got that slightly floppy belly, which of course comes from many, many generations of little cubs. She's walking back towards the kill that she had yesterday. I don't know if she'll go all the way there. I mean, I'm assuming this is Karula. I haven't seen the front of her. You can hardly see her tracks on the road here. As you say, Tebs, you are the man. Completely. I'm just the driver. There you can see a slightly sort of sagging skin underneath her chest. It's not really so much her belly. It's completely normal, of course. So when I say saggy, I don't mean it in an insulting way at all. Tebs, that's 3 out of 3, I think, for you, isn't it? Yeah. And the dogs this morning. 4 out of 4. Genius. And I'm not going to try and bash around to the front of her, everybody. Let's just watch her. And X-Ranger, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Tebs has got to be the one who's winning the carnivore challenge. It certainly is by sheer weight of numbers. There can be no debate. Now, of course, nobody needs to see the Queen in this current pose, but unfortunately, what can you do? Yes, there's the wow. The air that was hitherto quite sweetly scented with the dawn is about to become befouled with the great green cloud that will rise off that pile of fresh carnivore dung. Yep, there it comes. Now that, of course, nice, interesting one. We had a discussion about latrines the other day and what, whether any other animal like human beings will move away from where they live to go to the loo. And I said not so much. There's Brent Smith. I said not so much because what they do is they will of course use that dung to mark their territories, and that's exactly what this leopard is doing. Okay, apparently we're going across to Brent now. He's got a better view.
We have decided to join James since we've been looking for this leopard all morning, and well done to Tebs for spotting another leopard. So she's going to pop out.
Sorry, James, just go again with that update.
There she is. The Queen of Juma has decided to grace us with her presence. I wonder if she will head back towards what is left of that Steenbok carcass. I don't think so. And there's some nyala very close by. that we drove past, and I think she might have spotted them. I saw her ears prick for a second, but they're in that direction that she was looking. So it's going to be interesting to see if she goes straight down that road. She should walk into those nyala. I've got a feeling she might just cross the road. And this is exactly why Karula is one of the more difficult leopards to track. Walk on the roads. The queen, however, does not walk on the roads as much as she walks alongside. By Impala, snorting very loudly at her. You can hear the snort. That is an Impala alarm call. Oh, there you go, a little scent mark. James. So she is heading straight through the block. I love it when leopards get spotted. You see how she puts her tail up in the air. And look how close that Impala is to her, running at her and snorting at her. So once a predator like a leopard is spotted, so that Impala is less than 30 meters from her and keeps sort of jogging towards her, letting everyone know that he's seen her. Yes, well done, you have seen her. So, trotting after the leopard. And she's up ahead. So the main reason I decided to jump into this leopard sighting was I couldn't let James get too far ahead on the predator challenge. So leopard was one I was missing. I think we're all even Steven at the moment. And just try to get hold of James. I'm gonna just wait a little bit, see if she goes towards the treehouse waterhole, and we can get James there ahead of us. So if she does drink, he'll be in the right spot. James. James, if you head towards Treehouse Dam, and it looks like she's heading straight towards there.
So that will come back to Dams Road. I think we're going to have the time. I'm all set up. I'll make my way in that direction then.
Copy. So what we're hoping is James is going to try shoot ahead, and hopefully she's going to get there. She has changed her direction slightly and going in that straight line almost towards where those little remnants of the Steenbok are. But we are hoping she'll go for a drink. Juggernock, who's a new viewer. Isn't this awesome, Juggernock, that we're following a female leopard live through the bush? I'd like to know, do leopards ever hunt in prides? They don't. They are a solitary cat. The only social cat, or truly social cat, is the lion, and they're the only only cat that shows cooperative hunting strategies. Watch your head there, Andrew. So the treehouse waterhole is not too far from here now. So hopefully she goes for a drink. And nice camera work with Andrew there. Super zoom of the paws walking. And we're going to try and keep up with her. Obviously, she is far better designed for moving through the African bushveld than we are in our vehicle. She's been spotted again. More snorting, and you can see she's quite full. She's not really hunting, she's walking and scent marking. Margaret on Twitter, very upset, and the next charging Impala running in to snort at her. And Margaret says she just loves how the WildEarth game drive vehicles do not bother the cats. So unfortunately, I think those Impala have changed her direction a little bit. There we go, here they come jogging in. 3 of last year's babies. They're pretty. Isn't that wonderful how perfectly they were lined up there? And it's so funny how, in different circumstances, how different animals react. So Impala would do that to lion as well, and snort, and actually jog after the leopard or lion for a little bit. But if it happened to be wild dogs, they would not even have time, they would not even think about alarm calling, they would just run. So, unfortunately, because of those Impala, she's changed her direction and looks like she's not going to have a drink. And she's going to keep moving through the bush. So we will stay with her for the last minute of drive, and we'll definitely be looking for her again on the Sunset Safari.
That is a giraffe, everybody. I'm afraid Brent's gone black screen. That's a bit of a pity with the leopard right at the end of the show. Anyway, there's a beautiful giraffe that we'll have a look at for the last few minutes, and I'm sure Brent will keep with the leopard for a little while and see where she fetches up so that we can maybe follow her again this afternoon. So, it was a wonderful morning. Started off blustery and cold and turned into something very sunny and very nice. Big thanks to Tebs on camera. Thank you to Brent, of course. And Andrew, I'm just turning his radio down. And a big thank you to Solo Flying Louise in the final control. We had some amazing discussions today, so thank you all very much for that. We will see you this afternoon at 4 o'clock with some tea and scones. Until then, please stay safe and happy wherever you are. Bye-bye and see you then.